What's up, y'all? My name is JR, and for those of you who don't already know, I'm a huge movie and TV nerd. If you're new here, I appreciate you taking the time to check out my channel, and I hope you'll consider sticking around and joining the film community I'm trying to build here on YouTube. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about what I believe to be the best modern spy drama ever made, FX's The Americans, and why I thought the show was one of the few shows that managed to achieve the impossible: perfection. And just so you guys know, this video will contain spoilers, so if you haven't gotten around to watching this TV show yet and you don't want to know anything that happens in it, you might want to exit this video now. And with that being said, no more wasting time, let's get into it. The Americans is an American period spy drama television series created by Joe Weisberg for FX. It originally aired for 6 seasons from January 30th of 2013 to May 30th of 2018. Weisberg and Joel Fields also served as showrunners and executive producers. And set during the Cold War, the show follows Elizabeth, played by Kerry Russell, and Philip Jennings, played by Matthew Rice, two Soviet KGB intelligence officers posing as an American married couple living in Falls Church, which is a Virginia suburb of Washington, D.C., with their American-born children Paige, played by Holly Taylor, and Henry, played by Kedrick Salati. It also explores the conflict between Washington's FBI office and the KGB Residentura there from the perspective of the agents on both sides, including the Jennings neighbor Stan Beeman, played by Noah Emmerich, an FBI agent working in counterintelligence. The series begins in the aftermath of the inauguration of President Ronald Reagan in January of 1981, and it concludes in December of 1987. Shortly before the leaders of the United States and the Soviet Union signed the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. Now, The Americans was acclaimed by critics, many of whom considered it among the best of its era. Its writing, characters, and action were often singled out. The series' final season earned Rice the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series, while Weisberg and Fields won Outstanding Writing for a Drama Series. The show also received the Golden Globe Award for Best Television Series, Drama. Margot Martindale twice won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Guest Actress in a Drama Series for her performances in the 3rd and 4th seasons of the show. And it was one of the rare drama shows to receive 2 Peabody Awards during its run. Now, at the time of the making of this video, the series has a rather stellar 96% on Rotten Tomatoes with a comparable audience score of 94%. It has a Metascore of 89 on Metacritic, that's based on 154 critic reviews, with a user score of 8.5 based on almost 2,000 user ratings. And finally, it has an 8.4 out of 10 on IMDb with over 100,000 ratings. So listen, guys. As I said before, this show is one of the few shows that I believe managed to do the impossible, or at the very least, the extremely implausible. After watching this show from start to finish 3 times, I might add, I actually do honestly believe that this show is perfect. And I need you guys to understand the gravity of that statement. The sheer number of decisions that have to get made throughout a television show's run, especially, ending up with a perfect show, is a near impossible feat, especially a show that ran for this long. 6 seasons with 75 episodes is an eternity. Creatively speaking, it's a lot of chances to make a bad decision. But it feels like every single major decision seemed to work out on this show. None more than the show's concept, which was an interesting one to be sure. One that had staying power. It was a story about 2 KGB intelligence officers who were placed together in order to successfully infiltrate the United States, importantly, the Washington, D.C. area, in an effort to essentially help Russia win the Cold War against them, only pretending to be a couple the whole time. Now, they were not supposed to fall in love for real. In fact, they start off the show with Elizabeth pretty much wanting nothing to do with Philip, romantically speaking, even though they already had 2 kids together, merely as a part of their cover, but still. That alone was enough to make me watch the TV show week in and week out, because the story, the real story, once you get past all the spy stuff, is the evolution of Elizabeth and Philip's relationship to each other and their thoughts and feelings changing over time about the mission they were sent to America to complete. As more and more people died at their hands, we can see Philip become more and more affected to the point of even wanting out. We also watch the children, specifically Paige, become more and more convinced that something wasn't right with her parents, until finally they had to tell her the truth about their lives and cross their fingers, hoping for the best. Now, at first, Paige resisted her parents' way of life, vehemently so, but eventually, over the course of the series, she became okay with it and even enthralled with it to the point of doing some spying herself and also, learning how to fight from her mom. Meanwhile, the Jennings neighbor, Stan Beeman, again, an FBI agent working in counterintelligence, spends the majority of the series none the wiser that his neighbors aren't just spies, but that they are the very spies he and his co-workers have been looking for years. But as the political landscape begins to change back in Russia, it actually causes Philip and Elizabeth to expose themselves more and more to the point where they are eventually found out. Now, these plot points remind me of a similar set of plot points in AMC's Breaking Bad, wherein Hank, working for narcotics, is looking for Heisenberg, having no idea for most of the series that Heisenberg is his very own brother-in-law. And this is the reason why you watch the show every week, to find out, is Hank ever going to find out about his brother-in-law? And, you kind of assume that he will, but the intriguing part is when he does, what happens then? This is essentially the climax of that series. And here in The Americans, once Stan realizes that Elizabeth and Philip are indeed Russian operatives, he vows to catch them, and he eventually does, in full-on disguise, just as the family is planning a safe way back to Russia. And this results in a few extremely anxious moments, but Philip manages to leverage he and Stan's deep friendship in order to convince him to let them go, which he does. And the rest of the FBI is hot on the Jennings' tail. And with Henry away at boarding school, the three of them essentially plan to escape and essentially leave Henry behind. But Paige changes that plan at the last moment. While on a train headed out of D.C. and realizing that the FBI are really only looking for her parents, Paige decides to get off the train and ultimately stay in America with her brother. And, to her parents' dismay. And this is where we finally get to the closing image of the series with Elizabeth and Philip back in Russia, just the two of them, like it was at the beginning, looking over the city at night, no doubt wondering who they are to each other now that the mission is done. The ending of this series was everything a writer should aspire to. As a writer, you want an ending that provides moments that are perfectly anxious, wildly surprising, and maybe even gut-wrenchingly sad, while also being totally predictable all at the same time. The Americans manages all of these things in addition to, having had immaculate casting, pristine acting. I mean, even the kids were good in this series. The show had good pacing, it had good writing, especially where the dialogue was concerned. And most importantly, the show got out while the getting was good. This is a show, in my mind at least, that reigns supreme as it pertains to period spy dramas. I would, no lie, give this show a 100% if this were that kind of video. But, unfortunately, it's not. The point is, this show belongs on a very small list of shows that I, who consider myself to be a pretty harsh critic, would consider to be virtually perfect. This is the kind of show you could watch over and over and over again and never get tired of it if you like television and film. But what do you guys think? Have you had a chance to watch The Americans in its entirety? If you have, did you like it? Or do you think I'm giving the show more praise than it deserves? Let me know in the comments. And for those of you who might be new to the channel, be sure to like and share this video. If you really like the content, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. Also, be sure to go and check out themadScreenwriter.com for more television and film reviews and info on my upcoming film projects. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I got screenplays to write. And I'll catch y'all in the next video.